The billionaire's mansion was silent that morning, painfully, eerily silent. The kind of silence that eats through marble walls and drapes itself across every corner like grief itself. Outside, the morning sun kissed the ocean that stretched endlessly beyond the cliffside, but inside the mansion, even the birds seemed afraid to sing. At the center of that silence sat a little girl, no older than 7, her soft brown curls falling over her pale face, her eyes fixed on the piano keys in front of her. She didn't move, didn't speak. Only stared, as if trapped in a world no one else could reach. Her father, Richard Hanover, one of the richest men in the world, stood behind her with tears he never allowed anyone to see. He had everything money could buy, fleets of cars, private jets, islands, power, but none of it could buy what he wanted most, his daughter's voice. Broken heart, if this story already touches your heart, please take a second to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps us keep bringing you stories that remind the world how powerful compassion truly is. Broken heart. Richard's daughter, Lily, had stopped speaking when she was 4. No one knew why. One day she had been laughing, twirling through the halls in a pink dress as she sang a lullaby her mother taught her. The next day, she simply didn't. Doctors said it was trauma, but from what, no one could tell. Her mother had died in a car crash a year before, and though Richard shielded Lily from everything, perhaps grief had its own ways of reaching a child's heart. For 3 long years, she hadn't uttered a single word. Not to her father. Not to her nannies. Not even to the therapists who sat with her for hours trying to coax out a sound. Desperate and consumed by guilt, Richard had spent millions bringing the best specialists from every corner of the world. Neurologists, child psychologists, speech therapists, even spiritual healers and monks from distant temples. He had flown in doctors from Harvard, Oxford, and Tokyo, all promising breakthroughs. But each one left with the same words, "She'll speak when she's ready." Yet every passing year, Lily's silence grew heavier. Richard's empire expanded, but his home remained lifeless, his heart a hollow chamber echoing with memories of laughter that no longer existed. One cold winter morning, the mansion buzzed again, not with hope, but exhaustion. Another team of doctors was arriving. Richard had flown in 30 more experts after reading about an experimental treatment in Switzerland. Lily sat by the window, her tiny fingers tracing foggy patterns on the glass as snowflakes danced outside. Her father watched her, his face tired, his eyes red from sleepless nights. For all his wealth, he couldn't shake the feeling of helplessness that had grown into a permanent ache in his chest. He had given to charities, built hospitals, even funded orphanages in his wife's memory, but nothing he did could heal his own family. Later that day, the mansion's grand front gate malfunctioned, again. Richard's head of maintenance called the city service to send someone for urgent repairs. Within an hour, a small truck arrived. A man stepped out wearing an orange reflective vest, his boots worn from years of labor, his face weathered but kind. His name was Miguel Santos, a street cleaner and maintenance worker from the nearby town. He was humble, soft-spoken, and carried himself with quiet dignity. While fixing the heavy iron gate, Miguel noticed a small figure watching him from the window, a little girl with the saddest eyes he had ever seen. Lily. Their eyes met for just a moment before she quickly hid behind the curtain. Miguel smiled gently, pretending not to notice, and continued his work. But something in that child's gaze struck him deeply. He finished repairing the gate, collected his tools, and was about to leave when he noticed a small music box lying near the garden fountain, the lid broken, the tune inside faintly whispering a lullaby. He recognized it instantly. It was the same song his late wife used to sing to their daughter every night before she passed away years ago. Miguel knelt down, fixed the loose spring with a small screwdriver he always carried, and wound the key. The box played the tune again, soft and warm, carrying through the air like a memory reborn. As he looked up, he saw Lily standing on the balcony, her eyes wide. The moment she heard the melody, something flickered across her face, confusion, recognition, longing. She froze, tears filling her eyes, then ran back inside without a word. That night, Lily couldn't sleep. The melody echoed in her dreams, her mother's voice, soft and distant, singing the same tune she thought she'd forgotten. The next morning, Richard noticed his daughter sitting by the window again, clutching a napkin where she had drawn a picture of a small music box and a man in an orange vest. It was the first thing she had ever drawn since her mother's death. He didn't understand it, but something told him that this man had reached a place in Lily's heart that no doctor ever had. When Miguel returned later to check the gate, Richard stopped him. "My daughter seems different after seeing you," he said hesitantly. Miguel looked surprised but respectful. "Sir, I don't know how that could be. I only fixed the gate, and a little box I found in your garden." Richard's eyes widened. "That box was her mother's," he whispered. "She hasn't touched it in years." Richard invited Miguel to meet Lily, just once. The girl was hesitant at first, hiding behind her father's leg. But when Miguel pulled out the little music box and played it, she slowly peeked out. He smiled and said softly, "Your mother must have loved this song." Her eyes welled with tears. For the first time in 3 years, she reached out and took the box from his hands. She didn't speak, but her lips trembled, as if words were fighting to come alive again. Over the next few weeks, Miguel began visiting the mansion occasionally to help around the property. Every time he came, he brought something simple, a small carved bird, a paper flower, or a silly joke scribbled on a napkin. Slowly, Lily began to open up to him. She still didn't speak, but she smiled, genuinely smiled, something her father hadn't seen in years. She followed him around the garden, helped him sweep leaves, and laughed soundlessly when he pretended to chase the butterflies. Her laughter, though voiceless, was enough to bring color back into the mansion. One afternoon, as Miguel repaired a bench near the fountain, he hummed the tune again. Lily sat beside him, eyes closed, swaying gently to the melody. Suddenly, her small voice broke the silence, hoarse, trembling, but unmistakably real. "Mama," she whispered. Miguel froze, tears instantly welling in his eyes. Richard, who had been watching from the balcony, nearly dropped the glass in his hand. He ran down the stairs, calling her name. "Lily! What did you say?" She turned to him, tears rolling down her cheeks, and whispered again, "Mama." It was just one word, but for Richard, it was everything. He knelt and hugged her tightly, sobbing harder than he had since his wife's death. Lily clung to him, the dam of silence breaking after 3 unbearable years. "Papa," she whispered next, her voice trembling but stronger this time. The entire mansion staff wept. Even the guards outside wiped their eyes. For the first time in years, the Hanover estate echoed with the sound of love reborn. From that day forward, Miguel became more than just a worker, he became family. Richard offered him a better job, a home on the property, and a promise that his daughter would never forget the man who gave her back her voice. Miguel humbly refused the lavish rewards, saying softly, "I didn't do anything money can buy, sir. I just listened with my heart." Lily went on to heal completely. With Miguel's gentle encouragement and her father's renewed love, she began to sing again, the same lullaby that once belonged to her mother. Richard often stood outside her room, listening quietly, tears streaming down his face. The world had called him a genius businessman, a powerful billionaire, but in that moment, he felt simply like a father, grateful beyond measure to the man who had done what 100 doctors could not. Speech balloon. Before we end, tell us in the comments, what do you think truly heals a wounded heart, medicine or kindness? And if this story touched your soul, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner, where stories remind us that no amount of wealth can buy the power of simple, human compassion. Rose.